going to give the little opening spiel if that's okay. I'll start by letting folks know that we are recording. And I think they'll be going online afterwards. So if you're not comfortable with your likeness being on video on the internet, please feel free to turn off your camera. Otherwise, we'd love to see your faces and have you interact. My name is Charlotte Keniston. I use she, her pronouns. I work at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, just outside of Baltimore in Maryland. I'm so glad to be co-hosting today with Amanda, who will also be presenting with some other folks. So I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. I'll also be letting folks into the room. And if you have any needs during the session, feel free to direct message me. And I can see what I can do to help you. For those of you who might like to use the transcription that is available, Zoom should have prompted you to add your language, your home language, as you came in. And then the three little dots that say more on the bottom right of your screen should allow you to turn on captions and transcription. All right, I think that's it. I will be keeping time. So Amanda and team, I will put in the chat when you've got 3 minutes left. And if you can just give me like a thumbs up or something and let me know that you know. Otherwise, I'll start like wildly flapping my arms so that you know you're running low on time. All right, take it away.
Okay, and we're recording. Is it recording?
Yes, we're recording.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Charlotte, and welcome everyone. It's really wonderful to be together and to talk about storytelling together in this way. My name is Amanda Essence. I work at College Unbound as institutional storyteller, and I'm also faculty for digital storytelling for collective change. And I have been doing digital storytelling for the last 15 years. I trained with Story Center, so I bring that methodology into my work at College Unbound as well. And I would like to introduce Autumn and Natasha, who are here with me. Do one of you want to start introducing yourselves, and then we'll get into the overview?
Sure, I don't mind starting. Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha Luigi. I'm from Rhode Island. I almost said Rhode Island Hospital. I'm at the hospital right now at work. So I'm from Rhode Island. I'm an alumni from College Unbound with a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership and change. I'm also a single mom of three, a patient equipment manager by day, and a photographer part-time, also a parent coach in training. My digital story, The Power of Grace, is about healing motherhood and how my upbringing shaped the way I parent my own children today. It also shares how my faith and healing journey led me to create Breakthrough Bonding, which is a space for parents and teens to reconnect through understanding and storytelling. So I'll share a little more about that later on when we start sharing our stories.
Thanks, Autumn. And thanks, Natasha. Autumn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Autumn Johnson. I'm also from the Rhode Island location of College Unbound. I started my journey back in 2022, hoping to graduate in May. Um, uh, the way that College Unbound uses lived experience for credit in order to get you through college is really what brought me there. I don't work at the moment, but College Unbound has allowed me to see the abilities that I do have and that I can um, do, like what I can do to help others in my community. So it led me to disability advocacy, which you will see pretty much I'll be explaining like my whole life story in my digital story. But yeah, I ended up in a lot of leadership roles within disability advocacy, and now I want to use like storytelling as a way to continue to make changes in the disabled community.
Thank you, Autumn. So a little overview of the next hour. We're going to introduce College Unbound, a little background of CU and our mission and the storytelling work that's embedded into our culture and practices. And then Autumn is going to be sharing her digital story that she created, followed by Natasha sharing the digital story that she created. And then we have some questions to kind of guide the conversation. And then we'd love to open it up to all of you and engage in a bigger conversation around the stories, the life of the stories, and stories as a tool for advocacy as well. So College Unbound originated in Providence, Rhode Island. It's not a traditional higher education. We're really trying to break down barriers. All learners are welcome. Most of our learners are adult learners who face significant barriers in traditional higher ed. And our curriculum is really heavily based in storytelling. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about. But I also called in some alumni and staff and faculty to help share what CU is.
To me, College Unbound is a place where you not only learn about your own journey, but you help others on their own path too.
When I started, I definitely felt that I didn't belong to any traditional school or anything like that. But definitely the community that you build here really transcends forever. It just brings everyone together and it makes you feel like your voice matters, your story matters, and you have important things to say.
College Unbound is radical freedom dreaming, it's liberation, it's the daily practice of abolition in our lives and the hope that we want to see in the future. It's students making a change, it's faculty working with students, and it's us as a college rallying behind voices of the misunderstood, the oppressed, and working together to create change in curriculum, policy, and a future for our families.
Really diverse space that allows for intergenerational education to happen while healing and growth collectively happen.
CU takes seriously that every mind is precious, that we are all knowledge creators, and that we are all leaders. And that's just not something we say, it's just what we believe about the world, and it's really clear in all of our actions. Every mind is precious and is capable of leading, and we need to take part in leadership. That's what CU is.
So CU, I said, began in Providence, Rhode Island, but now we're in Seattle, we're in Greenville, South Carolina, Philadelphia, Chicago, and oftentimes we emerge through partnerships, like with the Nonviolence Institute, public housing, United Way, and education, where TAs can become teachers. So as I said, storytelling is really part of our culture. When students enroll, they're part of cohorts, and the cohort is like the base where students talk about their classes, their projects, what's meaningful to them, what they're doing in their lives outside of CU. It becomes a real support network, and they're small groups, and they're together throughout their entire time at CU. And one of the first assignments is they do the story of self, the story of us, the story of now. And a lot of these practices are story circles, so they're embedded in every cohort, also in their instructional classes. And this is really where the relationships begin to form and the trust begins to build, to really explore the lives that they've lived and that they're carrying as adult learners into the Educational Institute. So there's a lot of reframing that happens. One of the first classes is reframing failure, where students look back on their lived experience and find the value in all the learning that's happened throughout their lives and what they now bring into the work that they're doing in the world. And how they approach their coursework as well. Learning from experience is another one. Research justice, which helps them in creating their projects. And there's a number of storytelling and writing courses as well, where students explore their first person narrative, as well as the collective narrative of the communities they're coming from. LIPS in Big Ten is another part of the storytelling. So LIP is getting credit for learning from experiences in life. So they write the stories of this. What are the insights? Where did the learning happen? How do you apply this to your life now? And same with the Big Ten. It's Big Ten competencies that every student masters by the time they graduate. And there's things like communication, social justice, reflection, advocacy for self and others. That's just to name a few. And then the core projects. It's kind of the grounding elements of the curriculum where all the courses surround this core project that a student is developing, and almost always these projects are creating an impact on their families and communities. So I said I'm institutional storyteller. So my body of work, which began with the strategic plan, was to really lift up the voices of our students, our community members, so that we can learn and grow as an institution as we understand the student experience and the community experience more deeply. So part of that is sharing stories that matter, narrative analysis, where we do a lot of storytelling and then lift up the themes to kind of inform where we want to make changes, where we want to adapt, where we need to be more present as we design. And then curation. So this is just really providing the resources and the tools for students and community members to share their stories more broadly. The digital storytelling classes is part of this as well. And then institutional mission advocacy. And that's where we do things like this and share our story more broadly. So part of the curation, we have a live storytelling event every year where students bring their spoken word, their written word, their performative arts, and we also do digital story screenings here. So in the digital storytelling class, which is 8 weeks, of course, they share their stories within the course, but then followed, we have this live event where the broader community can be present both in person and virtually. And it gives the stories a chance to travel beyond too and connect with more people. We also have a podcast that's led and co-created with students and members of our community. We See Stories Unbound. And then all of the different storytelling initiatives where there's things like StoryCorps, where lab faculty and students are in conversation, or faculty and students are in conversation, and grappling with questions that they're thinking about and kind of shedding light on how the relationships are formed as well. And then our digital storytelling for collective change course, which I co-facilitate with my dear friend and colleague, Alexandra Karatza. And this is very much based on the methodology from Story Center, where I was trained in leading story circles and facilitating this work. And it's 8 weeks, so it's intensive and it's virtual because our students are all over the country. But we do create a community for Story Circle and sharing, and students create these micro documentaries by the end. And really the question is classic to Story Center, what story and why now? What's the story aching to come out? But then we also do offer some additional guidance that could relate to their projects. Like what led you to the work you now do in the world, which is oftentimes related with their projects. Because as you'll see with Autumn and Natasha, then these pieces of art, these stories can be used for tools for advocacy within the project work they're doing, within their communities, within their families, as Natasha will speak more about as well. Oh, and now, Natasha, your story is lined up. So would you like to introduce your story before we play it? And then we'll get into some questions at the end.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. This is Autumn's story. I can't see because it doesn't have the thumbnail. But Autumn, you're first.
All right, Autumn.
I had it backwards.
So I'm just introducing right now. Right,
Yeah,
right.
just introduce it and we'll play it and then we'll save for conversation at the end.
So pretty much I just want to share like how I chose my story. And so around the time that I was taking digital storytelling at College Unbound with Amanda in Alexandria, they were telling us, you know, like as far as we're comfortable, like dig deep and create a story that will truly like empower you and others. And so around that time, like this was a healing journey for me to create this story because it stemmed off a seminar that I had actually attended right before I started the fall semester in this class at the Spina Bifida Association of Greater New England's Family Regional Conference. Spina Bifida is the disability that I live with. And so being in that seminar, it motivated me to share my own experiences of living with a physical disability, those moments of feeling unheard and unseen, and the strength I found through community and positivity. And then my story connects to my love for the beauty world, mentorship, and disability advocacy, really showing that they've helped me embrace who I am. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for the supportive communities that have encouraged my growth. Amanda for helping me through those 8 weeks because it was very tough for me. And yeah, I just hope this story inspires others to create more inclusive spaces for people of all abilities.
Thanks, Autumn.
Am I going to regain strength again? Is this hypersensitivity in my legs going to go away? What is life going to look like moving forward? I don't know, but I do know this will be a new, scary, and uncertain time for me. These are the thoughts that ran through my head at 13 years old when I woke up from a 10-hour operation. All the strength I worked so hard on building since I was a young girl was erased. An operation that medical professionals promised me would give me freedom, but ended up taking the freedom to use my legs the way I used to. They never told me I'd lose all this strength. This moment led me into isolation, an already common feeling as a wheelchair user. Isolated with visible and invisible scars, a new lifestyle, and new fears unlocked. Isolated with a mind that was racing with a million thoughts of my past, present, and future. With a body that was paralyzed more than ever. That feeling of isolation continued on, but a feeling of hope was always there. I was only 13 years old though. I wanted and deserved to feel the freedom of a normal teenager. School, hygiene, eating, and sleeping became so routine. I deserved to feel free and independent. Isn't that what the doctors promised me? I needed assistance more than ever now. I needed help transferring in and out of my chair and getting items off higher shelves because my legs could no longer hold the weight of my body. I began to be more dependent on my wheelchair, not knowing what health issues that would cause. Physical therapy during and after school hours decreased until I no longer was receiving that crucial support. Soon after this recovery process, my life began changing as my living situation changed. I eventually ended up living in a town that later continued to send me into isolation. I went through the first 2 years of high school being bullied for the color of my skin and my disability, which resulted in me failing a class. I felt like I didn't belong in that school. I often retreated from any place where I felt like I didn't belong, until I had to use my voice to speak up for myself and students like me that would allow them to promote equity within schools. At this moment in my life is when I finally felt confident and angry enough to speak to the principal of my high school about the issue. Imagine going through a life-altering operation to gain independence to use the bathroom, and you find your peers misusing the only handicapped stall available to you. Able-bodied students using the handicap stalls was an issue I could and have seen spread into adulthood, so I knew I had to bring the matter to someone's attention. But nothing changed. Once again left feeling unheard and unseen. This time I didn't let those feelings weigh me down. Instead, I finished high school with feelings of uncertainty of what was next, realizing that exclusion and segregation I felt in high school was going to follow me as I rolled out into the real world, trying to find my passion professionally. I didn't think college was for me, so I focused on my passion for the beauty world. Through the pandemic, my health began declining again, but I eventually used my skills and became a self-taught makeup artist. Makeup was, has, and always will be my anchor when life feels rocky. I was able to use makeup as a way to ease my mind during moments of stress and physical discomfort. Makeup then led me to building an online beauty business and finding the confidence to do photo shoots and fashion shows, giving me moments to show others that disabilities should and need to be seen in the media. Modeling and makeup artistry led me into social networking, where I saw potential in impacting others with similar backgrounds. I began using my social media platforms to spread awareness about spina bifida, and this is when an amazing young girl named Victoria was brought into my life, a connection that was made with the caring heart of my family. forming a sisterhood with Victoria allows me to embrace my purpose in life, to be the representation and support I did not have as a young girl, to tell families like hers real-life experiences I've been through, to help guide them as they seek answers they feel they can't answer for their child, all while learning self-advocacy in my personal life as I endured another medical operation. As my abilities to self-advocate were shining, Victoria's mother excitedly shared an opportunity for me to speak about my personal experiences within an organization that supports those living with disabilities. So I took a leap of faith and applied to serve as a board member. Later, getting accepted, gaining a powerful sense of community. A sense of community that would continue to grow as I took my first College Unbound course, learning from experience. A learning experience that truly opened my eyes to the abilities I have. By 2023, I became Ms. Wheelchair Rhode Island, spreading the power of embracing unique abilities within disabilities to promote inclusivity for people of all types. For me, this opportunity to advocate for the state of Rhode Island didn't feel complete if I didn't have Victoria by my side. Mentoring Victoria through the journey we shared through the Ms. and Little Miss Wheelchair Rhode Island experience created an even stronger and empowering sisterhood. I have gained a sisterhood and knowledge as I competed for the Ms. Wheelchair America 2024 national title. I have made an impact to improve beach access for the disabled community in our beautiful ocean state. And I have created so many memories sharing my life story with others and doing public appearances with Victoria. Although I will never have the strength and freedom I did as a young girl, I have gained strength and freedom through community, makeup artistry, and being a disability advocate and mentor.
Thank you for sharing your story, Autumn. Every time it's always so incredible to be here and witness that story again. And I know there's probably comments and people who want to connect with your story and share with you. We're going to share one more story and then we're going to open it up for the panel and some conversations. But please enter the chat. And if anyone wanted to unmute and say anything too, we have some time. And I'd definitely be willing to do that, keep time for that as well. Okay. All right. And now Natasha will be sharing your story. Would you like to introduce it?
Yeah. So the story you're about to see, I named it The Power of Grace, which is a very personal story for me. It reflects a time. It, it reflects a time when I was searching for peace in my relationship with my mom while also learning how to mother my own children differently. So through creating this story, I began to see how grace, God's grace and the grace we extend to others can heal wounds that words can't really heal. The project helped me reconnect with my purpose and also build Breakthrough Bonding, which is my parent coaching initiative that will be using storytelling as a tool for healing and connection. And Amanda, you can share it.
Thanks, Natasha.
Longing for genuine relationships is a natural human desire. Have you ever longed for a relationship with someone you expected would fulfill those desires, for acceptance, for companionship? Has this unfulfilled desire made you feel unworthy of love? What if they couldn't fulfill that desire because they were unaware they were making you feel that way? Some people show love and attention differently. Some people expect love and attention differently. How can we meet the needs of those we love or those who love us? Growing up, I've always longed for the feeling of true love and attention from my parents, especially my mom. I envied those who had what looked like an amazing bond with their mother. emotional support, and a trusted friendship. I envied those who took my mother's attention away from me. As a teenage girl, I longed for someone I could run to and confide in when I was lost and confused. Someone I can trust with my secrets or to answer the questions I had as a growing girl. Please don't take this out of context. My mother was a great mom. She is a great mom. And she was as present as she can be. My parents were 15 and 16 years old when I was born. Imagine being a teenager and having to take care of and nurture another human being while also trying to figure out your own identity and who you are in the world. As a child, I didn't fully understand or realize how young my parents were. I just expected them to have all the answers and to always be present when I needed them. But in reality, they didn't have all the answers in parenting a child. They were children themselves and learned as time went on. It wasn't until I became a mother myself that I began to understand the challenges parents face raising children. I once heard a quote that goes something like this: with your first child, as much as they are growing up in life, you are also growing in life. You are learning how to be a parent. You are going through the mistakes, and you learn more about yourself and the responsibilities of a parent. And I agree with this statement. But even then, I still didn't fully understand why there was a sense of lack in my relationship with my mother. Why was it so difficult to get the attention I so desired? During my journey of self-reflection and healing, a really close friend encouraged me to give my mom grace and focus on the relationship we have now. She's an amazing mother, grandmother, and in my corner now. Back then, she only did the best she could with what she had and knew how as a young single mom. I appreciated these words. This stuck with me and healed that part of me. Experiencing motherhood has allowed me to reflect on my own journey as a mother in relation to my upbringing. I do the best I can to be as present and form connections with my own children, especially my teenagers. I want to form the connections I wish I had growing up. Most importantly, I want to be available to listen to them. Actively listen to understand them. The teen phase can be challenging for both parents and children. When I feel like a failing mom, I remember those words my friend once said to me. As a parent, we must also give ourselves grace and remind ourselves, you are doing the best you can with what you have and know how.
Stop share so we can all see each other. Thank you, Autumn, for sharing in this space with everyone. And Autumn and Natasha, thank you both so much for your brilliance and your storytelling and your wisdom. And now we have some questions prepared that I'll moderate, kind of a conversation between the three of us, and then we'll open it up to everyone too to engage in the conversation. So at the beginning, you said a little bit about what led you to these stories and why it was important to share them now. Can you speak a little bit to that? Like, why did you choose at this moment in time to share these stories, and how did you come to the stories that you were sharing?
For me, there was like when we were taking the class, there were a lot of different stories that I'm like, I can use any story but which one is going to be the story that's going to be most impactful and relatable. I was also at a point in my life where I wanted to understand the patterns that shaped my relationship with my mom, and how I could break them for my kids while raising them. This story was my way of facing truth and also finding healing for myself. I longed for connection, as I spoke in the video, growing up, and I'm now working to build those kind of connections with my own children. Um, so that longing is what inspired Breakthrough Bonding. Now that I'm a mother myself, I get it. Like I fully understand because I'm like my parents were teens when they were raising me. So, um, you know, as a teen mom, she did the best that she could with what she had and what she knew how. She too was raised by a teen mom, so each generation just did the best that they can, without a blueprint. We don't have a blueprint. We got to figure it out on our own. We're given this human being, and we just don't know what to do. So that's kind of what led me to share this story, is how many people can relate to this story. And I feel like just, in conversation, I feel like a lot of people can relate to my story. And just, um, girls or even boys wanting a relationship with their fathers. For me, it was my mom, and being a girl trying to figure myself out and my identity. So yeah, I feel like a lot of us can relate to it. So that's why I chose this story, and also the project that I'm working with, Breakthrough Bonding.
Natasha, you brought up breakthrough bonding. Can you explain a little bit what it is for those that don't really know what it is yet?
Yes, yes. So Breakthrough Bonding is basically it's a space where I'm looking to bridge the gap between the parents and teens relationships through workshops, retreats, connection building through conversations and things like that. So it's parent centric, because parent coaching will be involved. I'm a parent coach in training, so my job will be to focus on what we can do as parents to bridge that gap between ourselves and our teenagers. But within this space, there's going to be two spaces, like the workshop space, with the parents and teen connections, and then the parent centric with the parent coaching. And with the workshops, also involving youth voices, teen voices. While I was doing this digital story, I involved my children in the building of it. Well, once I completed it, I shared it with my kids, I shared it with my mom, and just getting their reactions and feedback in real time showed me like this is needed. And not only for like my family, I feel like it'll be good for other families. One comment that really stood out to me was my son, when he's like, to me, you're just my mom. But seeing this video made me realize you were once a teenager too. You're not just a mom, you're actually a human being. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a human. I wasn't born a mom. So just getting that reaction from me proved to me and was confirmation that this work is definitely powerful and needed for families, and bridging those gaps between the teenage. I would say the teenage ages are like the toughest, just from personal experience, and also from growing up as a teen myself.
Mm. Thanks, Natasha. Did you want to speak to that, Adam?
Yeah, and then again, for me, like I mentioned when introducing my story, I didn't really have any other ideas when coming into the class on what my story was going to be. I think just leaving that medical trauma seminar, it really stuck with me, made me realize like how much healing I still like didn't do within myself as a person living with a disability. Even like what what people with physical disabilities are a lot, mainly with like, or what I've experienced in the community of those living with spina bifida, is that there's a huge lack of medical knowledge and support for us. Our clinics are dissolving year by year. So that means that adults and children with spina bifida aren't getting the medical team um, that they need in order to live a successful and healthy life. And then knowing that I have the youth looking up to me with and without disabilities, I wanted them to see like me being vulnerable and sharing parts of my story so that they also know that like I go through things too. It might look like I have it together, but I don't. And I think that this story just really shows vulnerability, which was something that I wasn't comfortable with until honestly coming to College Unbound and being around my peers and the faculty. They've always made it feel like a safe space. So it felt like it was the right time and place to like put like my challenges and also my accomplishments into one video. So now when I look back at the story, feel better about myself than like focusing on all the negative that has happened.
Thanks, Anna. So you both alluded to, like, you brought us to the doorstep of when you share it. Maybe we should talk now a little bit about what has it been like sharing it, your story. Well, you just shared it with a large group now today, but intentionally with people or with communities that you've wanted to share the story with. What has that experience been like? And how have you recognized the impact of that sharing?
I can go first this time if you want. So for me, creating this digital story, again, it had an emotional impact on me. It allowed me to reflect on my journey in a meaningful way. Like I said, not to just recognize the challenges, but the strength and growth and purpose behind all the challenges. And wait, what was the question? I feel like I'm answering like the wrong question right now.
Yeah, no, you are. You're definitely on the track. So yeah, because we could speak to that too. So there's this whole ripple out effect that happens, right? Why don't we start with that? Because you brought us there. So
Okay.
the impact on yourself individually in the healing, and then from there you shared in Story Circle, right? And then the community building that happened there. And from
Yeah.
there at the end, when there was the screening within class, you also shared at the community event with the broader community.
Yeah.
And then you've been going to schools and sharing. So maybe on those different as we ripple out, maybe whichever layer you'd like to speak to that's meaningful to you.
Okay. Um, yeah, so it has created like sharing my story has created like a space for like understanding and healing, I feel like for especially like my friends and family that like I wasn't as vulnerable or open to. Um, so they've gained like a deeper perspective on what my life has been like living with a disability and what that truly means. It's open conversations about inclusion and accessibility and empathy. For 2 years in a row, I've been a part of being a guest speaker at a fifth grade school here in Providence, Rhode Island. And the second year since I have the story made, I shared my digital story or I had the teacher share it with the class. And I ended up getting wonderful notes and feedback from the students saying that like they connected with I know they're fifth graders too, so a lot of the stuff probably went over their heads, but they definitely I could see that they could see the tone in the story and realize that like include there's always room for improvement for inclusion and accessibility in the world. And just even the attitudinal barriers I feel like can be very disabling too. So showing them that like this is how people with disabilities are thinking and how others can help us with our I guess like thoughts on how the world views us, I guess. And yeah, it's
Um,
just really important for the next sorry. It's just really important for the next
Great.
generation to understand these things.
Yeah, for me, I feel like sharing it over and over, like even sharing it now, like it still brings like I get teary-eyed rewatching it every single time. But it sharing it not only, with a large audience, the first time I shared it was in the class. And it took a while before I shared it with my mom because I still feared her knowing how I felt. But once I did, I feel like it was freeing and encouraging for me. It has opened up conversations in my family that we'd avoided for years. And then beyond that, I feel like sharing it with like a wider group, it's helped other parents see that healing is possible. I've had people tell me like, your story made me send a quick message to my daughter or to send a quick message to my mom to just like help them feel seen and heard because you know so I believe it was one person. They have like the older daughters are usually, they got it handled, so they don't get a lot of attention from their parents because their parents truly believe that they got it taken care of. I don't really have to worry too much about that, that one. My eldest daughter, so I call it the oldest daughter syndrome. I'm the oldest daughter. Um, so this woman, she said, you helped me, send her a quick message, and we're gonna have dinner or whatever. It was an older daughter, and I was like, just hearing that and getting that feedback is very encouraging. And it basically, like, your story doesn't really have to end where it broke. So like where I feel like my mom lacked, I didn't let that um ruin our relationship. As I became a mother, I started to seek the relationship more, and it actually, our relationship has deepened throughout the years, and me becoming a mom and understanding where she was raising us, and then getting her feedback and her reaction. Like, I never knew you felt that way. If I had known, I probably would have did better. And I had to, like, reassure her that she's fine. Like, she did the best she can with what she knew how. She was 15. Like, I do not blame her for any of that. So it's been really encouraging, and just the whole creative process was really healing for me. I started out with prayer and journaling and like jotting down notes and things like that. I wrote what I was most afraid to say. Then it shaped into a message of healing. So the script was longer than than I actually shared, but I'm like, all right, this is going past 5 minutes, so I need to shorten it. So I'm like, what can I say that's gonna um be what's gonna be the best part of my story that's gonna be relatable. Every image and sound that I chose was with intention, to show both the pain and the restoration. And I'm also grateful. We spoke about this, I believe, yesterday. That I'm grateful I experienced this process, knowing not before knowing what AI writing tools were. So it allowed me space to truly reflect and share what was on my heart, not necessarily what ChatGPT thought was on my heart. I'm glad I did this process without the help of any AI tools, because it literally had me sitting in silence, listening to instrumentals and really getting into what I wanted to share. So that's one thing I'm truly grateful for with the creative process. And I definitely, anyone who's thinking of doing like digital stories, encourage you not to use AI tools, because it takes away from that process, that creative process, and the real healing work, if that's what it is that you want to share through your digital story, anything that's going to be impactful for others, because people can feel authenticity.
Thanks, Natasha. Autumn, did you want to speak about your creative process as well? What was meaningful to you in the work of building on the imagery and the sound and how you put everything together?
Yeah. For me, the storytelling process was both like challenging and rewarding. I felt like, just like Natasha just mentioned, um, we were supposed to fit these into like 5 minute stories, but when you're typing, you're rough drafting these and you're speaking from the heart, mine was like close to like 7 minutes, and even the final version still like over 6 minutes. But I was like, this is the best that I can do to really get all my points across and heard. And so yeah, I just really had to think about how to express that journey that I did, that I had, that in a clear but meaningful and impactful way. And yeah, through this, I learned how to articulate my emotions and my experiences in a way that not only makes sense, but again, like Natasha was mentioning, feels authentic to anyone who watches it. They can, even if you're not disabled, you can take away something from my story, I feel like. Yeah, so no matter the background, I always hope that somebody takes something away from my story.
Thank you. So what's next when you're thinking about, because these do stem from your projects too, and you're continuing to build on this and the work you're now doing as advocates in your communities with breakthrough bonding, and your work and activism on them. So what are you envisioning moving forward? Do you see yourselves continuing to create digital stories? Do you continue to share your stories in ways like what ways do you hope to continue to use these pieces as tools for advocacy?
Um, oh, do you want to go first?
Oh my.
Um,
So for, uh, so for me, I feel like this experience for me, I feel like was life changing. It helped open up conversations in my family. It also opened the door for them to see the work that I'm doing. Um, because a lot of it, like I was just doing the work alone based off my own experience, and then just getting their feedback has made it so much more than what it had started. So I'll use it in like my parent coaching and workshops as like a mirror for others. When people see themselves in your story, it also invites them to start their own healing process. I feel like that's the advocacy for me. Transformation through your truth. And then, so breakthrough bonding, like I mentioned, is a program that I'm building to support parents and teens in strengthening their relationships through like retreats and coaching and intentional connection. Um, and one thing, creating this digital story and sharing it with my mom and the kids also helped me clarify why the work matters. It has been more than just a class project. Now it's part of like my life's work. So I'm gonna be like, I've been trying to figure out ways of how I'm going to be building storytelling circles within breakthrough bonding, where where the parents and teens can create and share their stories together. I also want to keep digital storytelling to bridge, keep using digital storytelling to bridge like the generational gaps and build empathy within families. Because one thing that I've learned through this project, it showed me how digital story can also be both healing and powerful. It helped me give grace to my younger self, to my mom, and to myself as a parent. Um, it also reminded me that our personal stories are often the seeds of the work that we're called to do. Um, a lot of times it's like we're just going through life trying to figure out what's our purpose, what's our life's work, what is it that we're on earth to do. And I honestly feel like this seed that was planted through digital storytelling was confirmation of the work that I'm called to do. So I hope that my story encourages others to look at their own experiences through grace and with an open mind. When we tell our story, when we tell our stories, we also make room for healing, not only for ourselves but also for others who are watching. So, yeah.
Um, For me, what's next? I definitely want to continue doing digital stories and other forms of creative writing. I feel like it helps me continue to grow as the storyteller and advocate because writing has never really been my strong suit, but like being in that class and creating the story made me feel like I can do it when it comes from a personal perspective, I guess it comes a little easier. So kind of using my lived experiences, maybe even if I'm not explicitly talking about myself, but using my life experiences as like an idea for stories. And yeah, I want to create these forms of creative writing mainly to help people understand like the joys, the realities, and the complexities of living with a physical disability. Um, Storytelling has definitely taught me that every experience holds power and purpose. So I want to continue to use that power to inspire empathy and connection. So I hope I can continue working with the fifth grade humanities class that I've been able to share my story with last year with and share it with future students and see what they take away from it. In high schools, colleges, everywhere, wherever I can, I feel like any place is a good place to share my kind of story. And my core project is called Life Beyond Limits. It's pretty much I'm developing a program where people with physical disabilities or spina bifida can come to me for resources for any kind of assistance, or even just support, just somebody. Sometimes a person with a physical disability just needs somebody else that understands them to just hear them out and uh, maybe just even listening, not even looking for a response back, but just somebody that understands. And I want to create uh, like a yearly or a year, almost like what started the story. I want to create conferences every year where people with physical disabilities can come together and collaborate, talk about the ups and downs of living with their disability, and maybe even implement storytelling into that so that they can feel motivated to put their own experiences into a story that will hopefully help them heal and spread awareness. And I also, my goal is always to spark conversations about accessibility and representation and belonging. So, while also reminding myself of how far I've come. And so, yeah, each uh, each time I share a new piece of my journey, it definitely strengthens my confidence and deepens my advocacy. So, thank you, Amanda, for creating this class at College Unbound.
Thank you so much for sharing. And every time you share your story too, like we're carrying a piece of it with us. I feel like we're always transformed by the stories. And even though I've seen your stories many times too, I always find a new way to connect with them. And thank you so much for all the work you're doing in the world and everything you brought to this space. And now we're going to open it up to everyone for questions, for comments, affirmations, anything you'd like to share with Autumn and Natasha or about College Unbound.
Can kick us off with a question. Thank you, all three of you, for this great session, and Natasha and Adam, especially for sharing your stories. They're incredibly powerful. And like Amanda said, I feel like stories stick with you, and I'm sure like your stories will be called to my mind in situations in the future. So I'm glad that you shared your stories, and I'm thankful for what I learned from them. Amanda, I'm curious how this fits, how this class, is it mandatory? How does it fit in the progression of classes at College Unbound? Yeah, and I'm also curious about the project that both Natasha and Autumn are referring to. Like, how does that fit in? And do all College Unbound students do some sort of passion project?
So digital storytelling for collective change is an elective, but all students are required to do a project, and it is the core, it's like the center of the entire curriculum. So because our students are adult learners, oftentimes they're already working at nonprofits. They're leaders in their community. They're activists. They're artists. They have these projects they're doing in their lives that they want to elevate to the next level. So that's the center of their curriculum. And then all the other courses like research justice, learning from experience, writing for community, whatever the other courses are, they help complement, they help drive this project. So with this digital storytelling for collective change class, our hope and one of our aims, besides it being whatever the student needs in that moment in time, it could be whatever story they want to tell, but oftentimes it does correlate with the project where they say, okay, I want to tell the story of how I got involved in this work in the first place. And oftentimes it is a moment of change that led to the incredible work they're doing. And then it becomes a tool for advocacy as well, because they get to use the story in their work to tell the story of the work, to advocate for whatever the issue is that they're speaking about in the story. And then both Autumn and Natasha, their digital stories are connected with their projects. So maybe you want to speak a little bit about that connection and how you developed your projects. Maybe that would be helpful.
Yeah, I would say before coming to College Unbound, I've always been passionate about young girls or girls and their moms' relationships. I just didn't know like exactly what the work was that I was called to do. Like I just know that there was something in my heart that wanted to um I wanted to change. So one thing, so when I brought my idea to the table, you know, when I started College Unbound, we started off with like our intro courses, and then we started developing like our story of self, our story of now. So in that reflection process is where we begin to learn more about ourselves and the things that we want to do. So College Unbound is all about creating change. What is the work that you want to do? What is the work that you want to see, or the change you want to see in the world? Basically, is how I received it. So that my biggest thing was, you know, being a mom of growing teenagers, and seeing the changes and the phases of that growth, and then just my own experience as well, growing as a teenager and then becoming a mom. Um, when I initially thought about the project, I was focusing more on like just daughters and mothers. But as I was sharing my project during presentations and exhibitions, I received feedback from like my peers and faculty, and they wanted to see it expand. Like, how about the dads? How about the sons? And then during that time, I was actually struggling with my relationship with my son, and I'm like, yeah, I think this is more important. So I'm like, just parents and teens in general, and I feel like just seeing things out there and like the resources, a lot of resources are on like child development, like early on, like early development, child development, versus there's not a lot of focus. Well, there might be, but from my own experience, I feel like there's not a lot of focus on like um trying to bridge the gap between teens and parents. It's like trying to prevent anything from happening, but there's no preventing. No matter how great of a parent you are, kids are dealing with different changes, and just I feel like as parents, we need to educate ourselves um on like the brain sciences between those phases, and understanding that um each phase of their life, their body's changing, their mind's changing, their brain is changing. Our brains are not fully developed till we're like 25. So just having parents understand that. And I didn't know a lot of the information that I know now because before I started educating myself or doing the research myself. And I feel like having someone who can coach you or encourage you as a parent, being that person focused on that work would be really helpful with our journeys. I can't remember the question you asked. I went on a tangent. Sorry.
I think that's it. Yeah, with how the project So it's really the connection between the project and your story. So you just brought us to how
Yeah.
you developed the project, and that's really so interesting.
Yeah.
See how you
Yeah,
can.
so it was developed through like my own experience, and I had already came in with the idea because I know a lot of students are like, project, what project? I don't know what my project's gonna be, but I already had something on my heart that I knew like this is what my focus is gonna be. If I'm gonna do anything in this school, it's gonna be building this nonprofit organization. Well, it's gonna be nonprofit, but the parent coaching is probably gonna be separate. But the workshop and the focus on the bridging the gap, that I want that to be nonprofit because I want it to be accessible to everyone.
For me, when I first came to College Unbound, my project wasn't as developed as it is now with like the name and the direction that I want to take it now when it comes to like all the things I have planned with Life Beyond Limits. But I knew that like College Unbound had sparked the fact that I had abilities within advocacy work within the disabled community, which that was something that like I wanted to find something I think outside my disability at first to become my project or become like a passion of mine. Um, I live with my disability and advocate for myself every day. So at first I was just like, I don't know if I want to create a project around something that I do every day and that it becomes very stressful and very frustrating to do. But then I continued to find opportunities in leadership within disability advocacy. So like joining the board of Ripen, um, and really just seeing. I think what really sparked it all, and I said this in my story, but the connection that I have with Victoria, meeting her and her family really sparked the fact that I can have a true impact on the younger generations with spina bifida or disabilities. And that has always been, before I came to College Unbound, within the beauty world aspect was something that I wanted to tie into makeup and fashion was kind of being that representation in that space of somebody with a physical disability. And then when I saw that there's young girls actually watching me and watching I used to do like makeup lives on Facebook and things like that, and she was watching them and realizing like and then she started copying stuff that I do when I'm with her in person, but realizing that like I have a positive impact on, and that gave me in a way honestly like a purpose in life. So I've taken that and um, now I mentor a bunch of young teenagers and even younger with spina bifida, and I want them to have a better life experience than I had growing up.
Thank you so much. Amanda, I'm letting you know that there's 12 minutes left of the session. And for everybody that's in here, this is the channel that will become the plenary at 12:30 Eastern time, 1:30 Sao Paulo time. So there's probably going to be a lot of people joining us in the next 12 minutes. Keep going. And I'll just keep putting in the chat that we're like wrapping up our last sessions.
So when we were talking about this session, unless anyone has any more questions, I know Autumn and Natasha had a question that they were gonna pose to all of you. So do you guys want to bring that one up? I have it written down too if you don't have it.
Sure. How did you guys all feel watching our stories? Do you feel like you learned something new, whether in general or about yourself?
Stacy, thank you.
First, I want to say thank you for those honest stories. I work as a psychotherapist, and I'm always really honored during the process with the trust I've been given and the responsibility that comes with that, but also the bond and how healing that is. personally, I have experience with disability in my life, and I also lost my mother when I was 6, and then had a stepmother beginning when I was 7, who wasn't a very experienced mother. So, and I kind of wish my stepmother was alive now, so I could tell her, Natasha, about seeing your film. Um, and I do appreciate all she gave me. But I think only now I appreciate how difficult things were for her. So I just feel very moved and very grateful that you've told your stories in this way and that you're continuing to share. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I loved both of your stories, and they both brought tears to my eyes, which I find happens often when I listen to people's stories because it's just, yeah, it's just so wonderful to connect to people's stories and see ourselves mirrored in them. Natasha, I think I connected with yours, especially because I am a mother and I have a complex relationship with my own mother. And yeah, it was just a really powerful story. I also loved both of the your own images that you use, images and videos that you used in your stories. They were great. Natasha, I think the thing that I'll take away from hearing you today is not actually something that was in your story, but was something that you said verbally, which is something to the effect of like, no parent is perfect. And I think there's so much pressure to be a perfect parent. And I think that reminder that like we're all going to mess up and that restoring relationship is what it's all about. Yeah, I'll hold on to that. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Anyone else? Autumn and Natasha asked maybe something that you could share that you learned from seeing their stories about them or about yourself, anything you're going to carry with you from this session. Okay. All right, then I think we'll wrap it up then. And thanks everyone for being, oh, did someone just come off mute?
I came off mute just to say there's a nice question in the chat. If you want to read it out loud, Amanda.
Yes.
For me, it was saying, is there something you would do differently in the process now that you've experienced sharing your story through making a film? When I watch mine over, I feel like I did it as perfect as I could, and like honestly, for the time that I was at in my life last year, or when I made this story, like there's really nothing like I feel like I would change about it. Like I feel like it sums up everything up until that point in my life pretty well.
For me, I think it's more of like a technical thing. I'm like, maybe I could have put the music a little bit lower or something. Like, there's certain points where I'm like, I can't really hear myself as much. Maybe others can't hear me, but that's just the only thing that I would probably change because I do feel like everything was positioned exactly how I wanted it to. And when I did the voiceover for my script, I did it like a million times. So I'm like, it's as perfect as it's gonna get. Um, and I touched on a lot of the things that I wanted to with it. Even while saying it, I did like small little edits, like, oh, maybe I should say it this way, or, but yeah. So that's the only thing that I would probably change is just volume.
Okay. Thanks everyone for listening, for being present, and of course Autumn and Natasha for everything that you shared today. We're grateful to have had this time together.
Thank you to everyone for being
Thank
here and
you.
Amanda for facilitating the panel. I'd invite all of you to hang tight for the keynote, which will be starting in just a few minutes. I think I saw Milton has joined us. The keynote speaker is in the room. So hang tight, and Joe, I'll make you host again. Thank you everyone for being here.